Happy Facebook Live Wednesday. It's my 95th consecutive week doing these Facebook Live Wednesdays, and I'm learning to really enjoy connecting with you folks and just sharing what I believe are some tips that can help raise resilient, responsible, and just confident kids, right? Who know their worth, who know how to practice empathy. You can start as young as a toddler when you help them learn. I love this phrase, switch their empathy mode. What is an empathy mode? I remember doing, I should do it again, these EQ tests, which shows how your child processes emotions. Do they have a high EQ? And what is important about having a high emotional quotient, right? We all have just really respected and admired people with a high IQ, but lately we've discovered that you can have a super high IQ, be super intelligent, but if you don't know how to emotionally connect with people, you'll end up struggling with relationships. You'll end up struggling with your peers at work, with bosses and figures, authority figures, and really experience just emotional struggles. And we all know that sometimes when we get caught up in the drama of our life and we listen to the negative stories that our minds tell us, we can get into a pretty dark place. And I am here to tell you that that dark place can be so terrifying and traumatic and just something that we don't want to suffer from, right? So what I encourage you to do is, no matter what age your child is, have a conversation. Have a conversation about hey Hamid, what EQ is and how do we even practice empathy, right? When I looked up empathy, it's like, positive support, right? When our children feel support emotionally, mentally, and physically, guess what? They are more, there's more of an increase in them feeling emotional support. They feel safe, which means they will have stronger social relationships. Who does not want a healthier social relationship for their child? If you find yourself criticizing, I sometimes have the best intent, but it turns into a life lesson, or I end up saying something that I think is inspiring, but then my daughters might see it as criticism or something that I want them to be more of, instead of letting them know that they are worthy just as they are. And if they make mistakes, we do not define mistakes that they make, it defines their worth. No. So when we have positive support in our children's lives, when we offer, I know a lot of people say, oh my gosh, this generation now, we're too soft on our kids and we're too sensitive and we're too, there's a balance. We don't want to be hovering. I just interviewed an amazing author, podcaster from Canada, and his name is Reggie Waterman, and he said, there's a difference between being a drone instead of a helicopter parent. He's talking about a parent who operates like a drone, where you're too invested and you want to prevent the hurt, you want to prevent failures, you want to prevent the mistakes, because we perceive mistakes to be bad instead of seeing the gift of failure and the gift of mistakes. So what does this have to do with empathy? Well, when we teach our children, right, to be empathetic, that means if they themselves encounter mistakes, right, they make perhaps just like horrible mistakes that they in their heads believe, because society judges them for failing or for making mistakes or looking incompetent, feeling incompetent. It's practicing empathy towards themselves as well, right? And what would that look like? Forgiving yourself for mistakes that you've made, and also to not judge others. This is a big one, because if people's beliefs don't align with ours, it's very difficult not to judge, right? It's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that they are against what I believe. But if you practice empathy and you put yourself in their shoes, it doesn't mean that you change your belief, but you practice empathy and you say, okay, there's a reason why their beliefs are not aligned with mine. There's a reason why they are making, in my mind, stupid mistakes. But given their mindset, given their past experiences, that's why they choose to act the way they do. Well, when you learn empathy and you teach kids to put themselves in the other person's shoes, one of the questions in an EQ test was, if you see a little girl crying on the playground, what would you do? And I had answers from, I would definitely go there and give her a hug, or, make her feel that it's going to be okay. And then you have other kids who say, I'm not going to involve myself. That's her thing, not mine. So when we teach kids, it's different during this COVID days where, we can't just go up to someone and give them a hug, but can we go up to them and just express sincere compassion and ask, hey, are you okay? And if the person, most people would want someone to be on their side, right? So when we teach constructive ways, I wrote some notes, to handle bad moods. Oh my gosh, when I work with 5-year-olds, I'm realizing the importance of that emotional empathy mode. You can flip switch it with humor. I've had kids come to me, I don't want to do this. And I'm like, okay, we need to act like a sloth now. You ready to punch me? And then they're like looking at me and like, punch me, but you have to go really, really slow. And then a smile just magically, right, forms on their face and they end up giggling. Well, if you can switch, can you imagine switching a teenager's grumpy mood or someone who is not having a good day, and sometimes you think, I'm going to just stay away. But when kids are acting out, being disrespectful, not doing what you think they should do, right? Maybe they're cutting class, maybe they're failing, maybe they refuse to do what you want them to do. Something is going on, right? And instead of lecturing, which I am guilty of, whenever I share these tips, just believe me, I've broken every single suggestion that I advocate for now. But, we as parents want the best for our kids. But if we just ask one simple question, so what's going on? Or how are you feeling today? Can you share what's going on in that amazing brain of yours, and you just kind of make it so that it's not like, so how are you feeling? Okay, I guess, but make it open-ended. Is anything going on right now? Is there anything that I can do? That's a good one. I had someone, who was just not having it. And I'm like, is there anything that I can do? And he thought about it. He's 5, and he goes, I guess I can inhale and exhale, because we had talked about how deep breathing can, really change your mood. You probably won't have that answer from a teenager, right? But whatever your teenager answers, or maybe an adult child, that says, well, I don't think you can do anything except if you can, like, pay my bills, except if you can do my work, and you can simply say something like, I wish I could solve that problem for you. I wish I could magically take away that pain that you're going through. And that alone is practicing empathy, because you are showing them that you wish you could just take it all away, right? We all want to mend broken hearts, to fix mistakes. But I think if we teach our children that, when you make a mistake, it's nothing to be embarrassed about, that we learn the most from our struggles. And Reggie, the amazing author, you just have to read his book. I wrote the name of his book, and it's called Rediscovering Your Other Self. Discovering your other self, right? We all have ourselves, the idea that we have, and your children, every one of us feels that, okay, I'm an introvert. I'm really horrible at math. I'm fill in the blank, right? So when you encounter a failure, you encounter a mistake, your self-esteem goes from here and drops. So how can you show empathy? And I wanted to write some, some little notes so that I don't go off tangent. But if we teach our children that, life is really a game, and what are the rules of the game? And is it okay to fail? In games, normally you don't want to lose, right? Because the winner is the one who gets the most points. So that translates in life. The winner is the one who gets the highest grade, the highest pay, the biggest house, the one who gets to travel around the world. But if we teach our kids that the gift of empathy can go a long way in life, because when we know how to emotionally connect with others, guess what? We can prevent or decrease bullying, because bullying happens when others feel the need to judge someone and then react, whether it is to blame, whether it is to taunt and, tell people that, it is your fault because of fill in the blank. My daughter wanted to go to New York during that whole Asian hate crime phase, and I was scared for her, because we don't want our children to be harmed physically, emotionally, mentally. And then I had to step back, though, and support her. But also, when we support our children, it's guiding them, right? But not dictating. So when we have children who are really upset, great question. Wow, you look really upset right now. What's going on? I don't want to do my work, and I don't care if I fail. Dig deeper. And how does that make you feel? Upset. Yeah, I can see that you're upset. Is there anything I can do? No, nothing. Well, just know that I'm here for you. Simple words. When my mom passed away and people texted me and said, you don't need to respond, just know that I'm here for you. That lifted my spirits. That made me feel just cared for. And we all want to be cared for, right? So empathy shows others that we care. And when we teach kids, kids who maybe don't have what the rest of the class has, the latest game, the latest toy, the latest phone, right? It makes them feel that they're not good enough. And kids might be mean. What? Why are you don't even have a phone? Or you don't have the latest brand, whatever it is, backpack, the latest clothing, jacket. I mean, kids can be cruel, right? And what can we do? Well, if we put ourselves in other people's shoes, that alone, when you hear your teenager go, oh my gosh, you were so stupid. Well, how do you think that person felt, though, when they didn't know the answer, or when they, reacted the way they did? I guess, maybe they didn't realize that what they did wasn't the right thing to do. And so what do you think would make them feel better? How do you think they felt when people judged them for their actions? And it's a thought-provoking question. I've asked kids, so, what do you think was going on in their mind? Oh, they must have felt stupid. So what do you think would help to make them feel better? Oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe I should have said, that's okay. That's okay that you made that mistake. I have a little story to share. When a few years ago, my daughter witnessed a stabbing at her school. And everyone was, judging the parents, right? What kind of home did that kid come from? Were they not taught, not to resort to violence? And I was shocked that my daughter, who must have been maybe 18 at the time, 17, 18, and she said, Mom, the first thing I thought of was how his parents must have been really scared for him. And I bet after he reacted, it was a jealousy rage, he must have felt really sad that he harmed someone. And I said, yeah, he must have, and I complimented on her not judging the kid for his actions, but really looking deep into, he must have come from a lot of pain, and when we flip switch it, when someone does choose to act out of violence or maybe make a mistake, it's so quickly, so really, really, it's common human nature, I think, to judge, right? And so I think that, if we help children understand the importance of practicing compassion towards others and ourselves, right? They'll not only, I wrote 3 things, help build connections, which we all want to do. Emotionally connecting with others will lead you to healthier relationships. You'll be a happier person. You won't be stuck in that negative monkey mind spiral of just negative futurizing, or just telling yourself that, oh my gosh, my life is crap because I made these mistakes. Why am I in this situation, right? Because you practice compassion or empathy. You promote helping behavior. And I know when I was depressed, one of the therapists that I saw said, just volunteer. I thought, I don't want to do anything for myself. But, I become that student who listens to what the professional is telling me. And I volunteered for the Humane Society, and I volunteered at Easter Seals. I brought a bunny from the Humane Society to Easter Seals to help these children who are suffering from various physical impairments. And, took a few weeks, but I actually started feeling better. So if your child is grumpy, if they're going through a rough time, sometimes all it takes is, self-discovery questions, right? So what's going on? It sounds like you're pretty, you're not really happy right now, right? Yeah, it's because I have to, da-da-da-da, and go deep. And it could just be asking a simple question about what they are going through and how you want to help them. What can I do to help, right? Or why do you think you're feeling this way? Your child will let you know, because I think it was unfair that, or teacher was just an idiot because of, and really give them eye contact, really listen, and be there. Because if we can build a sense of security, our children will not feel the need to lie. Lying comes from fearing consequences. So if your child is lying, and I have a really, really good friend who said, you know what? She doesn't think lying is horrible because she operated through survival mode where she had to lie. She said, I had to lie in order to avoid being in major trouble. So if you have a child who lies, it has nothing to do, and I used to think, oh my gosh, the worst thing to do is lie to me because it's a moral thing. It shows me that you don't value the truth, right? But no, you ask any child who lies, it's because they fear consequences. They don't want to have their phone taken away. They don't want to have their video game privileges taken away. They don't want to be judged and seen as, the incompetent, naughty kid who disrespected their parents. That's another thing, right? If you lie, if you disrespect your parents, if you do something that is not supposed to be done, there's a reason for it. Do they not feel heard or seen or valued? Do they feel judged? Do they feel that unrealistic expectations are being put on them? All really great self-reflective questions to ask yourself and ask your child. Put yourself in their shoes. Do I remember ever disrespecting my parents or feeling resentment? Oh, that must be what my teenager is going through, right? It's like we forget, right? As soon as we could become parents, we think, well, you better obey me or else. I know the best way to, navigate life because I've been here longer than you. And then I interviewed someone who said, I tell my teen, I don't know, everything. And this is the first time I'm parenting a 12-year-old. Well, this is the first time I'm parenting, a 16-year-old. I don't have the magical manual of, how to raise children to be happy, successful, to be emotionally, healthy. We don't know, right? But I think a lot of parents feel that we should know. So how do we practice empathy? we don't compare ourselves to others, or we say, to ourselves, it's all right. My kids are not failures. My kids, if they fail, what a great opportunity to build resilience. Are we taught that? No. As soon as your kids start failing, we think, oh my gosh, what did I do and what do I have to do? This is why I've been getting calls, almost a weekly basis, with opportunities to build brains. And whenever I walk into a home, I can see whether there's pressure that the kids feel in, improving their grades, whether they feel judged that they are not earning the right grades. And, that empathy can really go a long way. So the other questions, let's talk about how you're feeling. Not a very comfortable conversation to have. And if they're not ready, just go, you know what? I get it. Well, if you are ready, just know that I'm here. And sometimes, there's a lot of yucky feelings that we experience that's not comfortable to talk about. But you know what? To successfully play the game of life, it does help to talk about our feelings, to talk about why we're upset, why we're sad, why we are feeling like we're struggling. And if they understand that the first step is awareness, the second step is taking action, right? Like it could be as simple as acknowledging, okay, I feel like I'm not worthy because I'm not getting the right grades. I'm obviously not making my parents happy, right? Because my parents are upset with me. I'm a disappointment. That's a huge one that requires extra empathy. Because if your kids feel that they are a disappointment in your eyes, they will carry that throughout their lives. Yes, throughout their lives. So as an adult, when you're no longer even in the picture, your little voice telling them that they are a disappointment will be in their brain whenever they make a mistake. You know what? Gosh, aren't you disappointed in yourself? And to me, that burden of carrying those thoughts that, you know what? Remember when your mom said that and you were 12? Remember when you were going through that rebellious stage and you're like such a disappointment? Just know that those emotions and that negative, limited belief will carry on, and that can really affect someone to the point where they become paralyzed, right? Paralyzed with fear. They don't want to get out of their comfort zone. They don't want to take steps to experience happiness. Why? They might make a mistake. And what's wrong with making mistakes, right? I was just reading a lot of quotes, and one of them was, if we don't make mistakes, if we don't fail, we're not trying. We're not really living, and we're not just living life the way that it should be. Life should be messy. Life should be filled with failures and mistakes so that we grow from it and learn from it and become the best version of ourselves. And what does that version look like? It changes. It can change from day to day, right? But ask your child, what do you want to do? And I thought, how many parents ask that? Normally we say, you know what, have you been doing your homework? Did you prepare for the test? What's going on academically? But do we ask with genuine compassion and genuine interest? So what would make you happy? And you have someone say, you know what, having that ice cream cone would really make me happy. Why? Just the taste of it. Just the taste of it would make, but then you don't want to create which is what I'm dealing with, right? That happiness comes through food. So then try to translate that happiness to what action, right? Away from food, because food is temporary, right? You eat that delicious 500 calorie dessert and you feel so happy at the time. And then sometimes your body will go, why did you do that, right? So we ask questions like, what particular activity would make you happy? Drawing makes me happy. Building Legos and then destroying it makes me happy. And I didn't realize when someone builds something, when they they just damage it, and you think, why did you do that? And then they rebuild it and they break it apart. Well, those are skills that engineers need, right? They need to plan, they need to build, and And sometimes they need to, destroy so that they can rebuild and make it better. But we all have emotional superpowers. And if we hone in on those superpowers, the gifts that each of us have, we will have a better chance of practicing empathy, because we will stop judging. And when you judge, this is what judging looks like. You either criticize, but you think you're criticizing to help the person become a better person. I know I've been guilty of that, right? You see your child make a mistake and you think, you know what, well, maybe next time you can. And you just give these wise words, right, of wisdom that you think, yeah, if they learn this, oh my gosh, they're destined for success. But what you're doing is not giving your child the opportunity to learn and navigate life without you being that drone and hovering over them to make sure that they live according to your rules of what happiness, what success, what your life rules are, right? Because if we dictate the rules that our children must follow, they will forever be codependent in what they think they should do, right? I have children who just look at their parents, like I ask them a question and they'll look at their sibling or look at their parent for the right answer. And I say, no, there's no right or wrong. Answer this question. What's your favorite ice cream? What's your favorite vacation destination? So I like students just to be without any of that external influence. So as I close, how are you feeling? Let's talk about how they felt, right? When children really contemplate how others feel, there will be less judgment because they will put themselves in the emotional shoes of the other person, right? Try to imagine what I'm feeling right now. I thought, wow, if parents, when in the midst of a fight, an argument, you say, can you just imagine what I'm feeling right now? What do you think I'm feeling? And they might say, well, I know that you're upset and disappointed in me. And then that develops into a conversation. Why do you think I feel that way, though? I love you. The love needs to be there. I love you no matter what. But I think I feel hurt because of. I think I feel that I'm failing. I've done that. I feel like I'm so helpless because I don't know how to help you. But I care about you so much. And their heart will be just warmed a little bit. So, express again also your genuine interest, no matter how old they are. What are you interested in instead of criticizing, whatever they're doing. So I hope that gave you a little insight on empathy, the importance of it, why we need to teach it. And when I read that it is the number one skill that we need to teach our kids. If you look at the crime, especially with domestic violence or mental health issues where, elementary school students are taking their lives or suffering from deep depression or anxiety or just fearing what life will become, it's because they haven't practiced empathy or they haven't been taught what empathy was, just feeling what others feel and really knowing that how they feel does matter. And talking about uncomfortable feelings is a healthy thing to do. So if you have any questions, message me. I am here to continue my mission to reduce stress, increase peace when it comes to navigating this roller coaster journey called parenting. Thanks, guys. Bye.